Have you ever tried to stay in a conversation circle and, even smiling, had the feeling that your soul was somewhere else? As if everything around you had lost its color, as if something inside you was trying to break out through your skin, without being able to explain why. It's not antipathy, it's not tiredness, and strange as it may seem, it's not ingratitude either. It's as if the world that once made sense now feels too tight, and the people closest to you start to sound distant, even when they're right there beside you. This discomfort isn't a flaw, it's a sign, a silent, spiritual warning, one of those that Carl Jung studied in depth, but that almost no one understands until it's too late. When you're one of the chosen ones, the universe starts removing some people from your path. And the pain of that, even though it feels like rejection, is just the beginning of something much bigger. Today, in this video, I want to show you what's behind these invisible breakups, why you feel this urge to pull away, why you seem to be changing, and why this may be the first sign that your soul mission is unfolding. Believe me, the bonds that break without explanation are almost always the ones that block your inner transformation. And if you continue to ignore these spiritual symptoms, you may end up stifling the very divine calling that brought you here. By the way, if at any point this message touches you, write in the comments what touched your soul the most. I really want to know what you're feeling inside, and take the opportunity to say where you're watching us from, your city, your country, because this connection between us is also part of the path. Oh, and if you feel that this type of content helps you see deeper, subscribe to the channel and leave your like. This way, you continue to receive messages that strengthen your journey, even in the quietest moments. And now, maybe it's time to look at this feeling of disconnection that haunts you with different eyes, because it might not be the end of anything. It might be the beginning of everything. There comes a time when everything starts to feel strange, but no one sees it from the outside. It's as if your world remains the same to everyone else. But inside, you know something is shifting, subtly, almost imperceptibly. What once excited you now rings hollow. What once made you laugh suddenly tires you. You feel like you're in the same place, but you no longer belong there. And this silent disconnect is the first whisper of spiritual awakening. The chosen are not torn from the world all at once. They are slowly disconnected from it, not by their own will, but by something greater, something that begins to operate within the soul, even before the mind understands. This severing of internal ties happens silently. You begin to withdraw emotionally before you withdraw physically. And that's precisely when the spiritual call begins to pulsate, not with noise, but with absence. Many try to ignore this feeling, trying to fit back in. They force conversations, smiles, routines, but what's starting from within can't be glued to the outside. Carl Jung said, "What resists, persists." And at this stage, the more you try to resist the soul's invisible call, the more life gets tight. Discomfort increases, boredom turns to agony, and relationships begin to lose their luster. It's the soul calling you, away from what is no longer yours. This inner rupture isn't easy to understand. How can you explain that you're tired of everything, even when everything seems right? How can you justify being uncomfortable with people who have always been by your side? It's not rejection, it's realignment. The souls of the chosen undergo a silent preparation, where spiritual isolation isn't loneliness, but an invitation to listen to the silence of the soul, which is trying to guide you to something that hasn't yet been revealed. It's common for you to feel confused or even selfish at this stage, but this is precisely the test. You need to abandon the need to please and start listening to yourself. The divine call doesn't arrive with fireworks, it arrives with absence. An absence of meaning, of artificial joy, of empty conversations. It's in this emptiness that the new mission begins to emerge. But it requires space, and sometimes space must be earned through distance. It's not about cutting people off. It's about recognizing that you're in transition, and that some connections can't keep up with the frequency of awakened souls. The disconnect you feel is real, and it's not the end of anything, it's just the harbinger of a new path. But before you can see that new path, something needs to start unraveling, and as you'll see now, that something is often everything you haven't had the courage to let go of. Without warning, without explanation, without explicit conflict, suddenly you notice that certain people begin to disappear from your life, or that you simply can't maintain the same presence with them anymore. It's strange. There was no fight, no apparent hurt, but something has changed. This is one of the first manifestations of energy disruption that accompanies spiritual awakening. The soul, in silence, begins a deep cleansing, removing everything that is not aligned with the new cycle that is to come. And it hurts. Because often, what's being taken away are loved ones, old bonds, companies that were part of important phases of your life. But the soul doesn't negotiate with the ego. It senses what no longer resonates with its spiritual mission and begins to let go. Relationships that seemed stable become burdensome. Bonds that once warmed the heart begin to generate discomfort. And no matter how hard you try to hold on, something inside begins to withdraw before you even realize it. And the soul cycle moving, even when the mind still wants to remain. And at this point, conflict arises between what you want to keep out of affection or habit and what your soul needs to let go of to grow. Many chosen ones resist this process. They try to maintain relationships out of gratitude, loyalty, or fear of being alone. But this resistance generates symptoms: anxiety, chronic fatigue, internal crises. Because it's not a matter of rational choice, it's a requirement of the spiritual plane. Some people will simply disappear from your life. Others, you'll feel like distancing yourself without knowing how to explain it. This doesn't make you cold, it makes you someone in transition. This is a process of purification. The souls of the chosen need to free themselves from influences that stagnate, consume, or divert their energy. And the universe, when it realizes you're ready, begins to facilitate this separation, not as punishment, but as liberation. You don't need to understand everything right now, but you do need to watch for the signs. What's getting too heavy? Who do you need to work with to be who you've always been? What relationships force you to dim your light to remain a part of your belonging? These are questions your soul begins asking before you even realize it. Breaking of ties, it's not abandonment. It's alignment with a new frequency. And the more you resist, the more the pain of separation intensifies. This is where many feel guilt, sadness, or confusion. But there is a hidden purpose in all this. The soul mission of the chosen ones requires space, and often this space only arises after energy rupture with what no longer accompanies your journey. The end of some connections is not a loss, it's a new beginning. For those who study the deepest layers of the soul, like Carl Jung, this is not a mistake along the way, it's an essential part of the process. Carl Jung believed that the soul carries within itself an invisible path, a journey that is not taught in schools, but that reveals itself through the most intimate conflicts. He called this process individuation, the path by which human beings stop being what the world wants and begin to be who they truly are. For the chosen ones, this journey is not an option, it is inevitable, because the more you try to adapt to what is no longer yours, the more life will seem suffocating. During individuation, everything that's out of alignment begins to be revealed. Masks fall away, roles crumble, and what's left is you, facing yourself. For many, this may feel like a breakdown, but for those who understand the process, it's a calling. A call to reconnect with spiritual awareness, with the essence that was buried under layers of obligation, guilt, fear, and conditioning. The ego fights to maintain control, but the soul only wants the truth. This is the point at which the archetype of the chosen one begins to manifest itself more strongly, not as a title, but as a responsibility. The chosen one is the one who feels, sometimes before understanding. It's the one who perceives ruptures occurring without understanding the reason, but who intuits that something greater is at work behind the scenes. Jung knew that the path of individuation was a lonely one, because it requires the courage to look at one's own shadow and not run away from what one sees. And the shadow isn't an external monster, it's everything you've hidden to be accepted. The repressed traits, the silenced desires, the stifled truths to fit into relationships, systems, or families. When chosen begin their process of individuation, the shadow surfaces not to punish them, but to free them. Because there is no awakening without confrontation, and there is no true light that has not pierced the darkness of the soul. This is why spiritual isolation, for Jung, was not a pathological symptom, but a natural stage of inner transformation. The soul needs silence to reveal what the noisy mind has hidden for years. Individuation doesn't lead you to a new persona. It returns you to what has always been there inside, waiting for its chance to emerge. And this emergence isn't always smooth. Sometimes it comes in the form of a crisis, a rupture, a disconnection. All of this can seem daunting until you understand that this process isn't breaking you, it's revealing you. What was once pain begins to make sense when you realize you're not losing control, you're gaining clarity. And with that clarity comes sensitivity. And with sensitivity, a new kind of discomfort emerges. A discomfort with what once seemed normal. That's when the next sign of awakening manifests, and you can no longer ignore it. At some point in the process, you stop feeling comfortable with those who have always been around you. It's not hurt. It's not anger, it's just discomfort. Conversations sound shallow, encounters seem empty, laughter is forced, and even when you try to act natural, your body betrays what your soul has already understood. You no longer vibrate at the same frequency, and this energetic shift is one of the spiritual symptoms, clearer than awakening. Carl Jung spoke about the collective unconscious, the energy that connects us to everything. When the energy field shifts, relationships suffer, and the chosen ones feel this intensely. They can no longer bear to be in environments where the soul doesn't breathe. What was once bearable now causes headaches, fatigue, and irritation. It's the energetic discomfort warning. You grew up, and your surroundings didn't keep up. This discomfort is actually a spiritual alert, a reminder that your sensitivity is expanding. And with it comes clarity. People, places, and situations that previously went unnoticed now scream energetically. It's not a whim, it's discernment. Your soul begins to distinguish what nourishes and what drains, and you can no longer ignore it, because every time you force yourself to stay where you don't vibrate, your energy contracts. Many try to rationalize this discomfort, telling themselves they're being ungrateful, cold, or too complicated. But this is just the ego trying to protect bonds that the soul already wants to loosen. The real conflict begins when you try to silence the warning the universe is ringing within you. And the more you silence it, the more your body feels it. The sicker you become, the more emptiness sets in, until spiritual awakening imposes itself with or without your permission. That's why so many Kozen report this feeling of not fitting in anymore. It's not arrogance, it's a process of inner transformation that asks for space to feel, to breathe, to hear your own vibration without the interference of external voices. You begin to realize that many of your bonds were not based on love, but on need, fear, or habit. And now, with your frequency rising, what is not true begins to fall away. This kind of discomfort isn't meant to alienate you from the world. It's meant to bring you back to your own vibration. Soul mission, the chosen one, demands lightness, sensitivity, and energetic coherence. And while you're surrounded by noise, this mission cannot flow. Therefore, social discomfort is more than a symptom. It's a password, a spiritual code that calls you to retreat, not out of weakness, but out of preparation. And in this silent retreat, The universe begins to shape you from the inside out. There comes a time when everything goes silent, messages stop coming, people move away, invitations dwindle, and what once filled your routine seems to have evaporated for no reason. For the chosen, this is one of the most delicate moments of the spiritual journey, the spiritual solitude. But what many don't know is that this silence isn't abandonment, it's protection. The universe is isolating you to prepare you, away from the noise that prevents you from truly finding yourself. It's common for the heart to feel rejected at this stage, but this rejection is illusory. What's actually happening is a strategic withdrawal, a profound retreat. It's like a cocoon, seemingly inactive on the outside, but undergoing a full reconstruction on the inside. This is the time of I prepare divine. The soul is being reconfigured, and to do so, it needs to be away from influences, expectations, and distractions. It needs silence to hear what only it can hear. The spiritual isolation, it's not a punishment, it's a shield, a subtle filter that separates what elevates you from what contaminates you. Carl Jung understood this period as a breaking point between the social self and the essential self, and the pain of this separation is inevitable. But it's what creates the space necessary for your soul mission begin to manifest clearly. What was once a constant noise is now a divine whisper. During this period, many try to force a return to the way things were before. They try to reconnect, force encounters, fill their time with anything, but nothing seems to fit anymore. That's because the universe is saying, don't go back, move forward. Silence of the soul, it is the fertile ground where the seeds of a new identity begin to germinate, and every attempt to escape this solitude is an attempt to escape one's own calling. It is in this space of seclusion that the most profound insights are born. Clarity comes, not in multitudes, but in seclusion. It is there that you begin to recognize the first signs of what awaits you on the other side. The soul speaks through intuitions, dreams, sudden sensations, and the more you embrace the cocoon, the more the universe begins to reveal your next steps. Even without clear answers, you feel something is being shaped within. This phase requires courage, because you won't see the butterfly yet, only the silence of the cocoon. But it is in this emptiness that the power of transformation lies hidden. The universe pushes you away, not to punish you, but to spare you, so that you can reach the next stage whole. And this next stage won't be easy, because now the soul will begin to sever ties definitively. And this cut, painful as it may seem, is a true spiritual rite of passage. Not every breakup is a tragedy. Sometimes it's a rite, a kind of secret ceremony in which the universe communicates without words that you no longer belong to the old cycle. For the chosen ones, this breaking of ties, it doesn't happen by chance. It's orchestrated by forces operating beyond the rational plane. When you resist growing, life creates ruptures so you don't fall asleep in the wrong place. And these cuts, however painful, are portals that require courage to cross. Because no one explains to you that this separation from people, places, and habits is actually a process of rebirth. Carl Jung described it as a symbolic death, the farewell to an old self that no longer serves its current mission. Suffering arises because the ego dislikes losing control. But the soul, it knows that certain connections must be broken so that new ones can flourish. The archetype of the chosen one goes through precisely this kind of rupture, painful, silent, without logical explanation, but full of hidden meaning. Every relationship that dissolves, every door that closes, every cycle that ends, carries a symbolic key. There is no spiritual evolution without transition, and every transition requires loss. You have to let go of what you swore you were to make room for who you truly are. A spiritual journey, it takes courage from those who awaken to let go, even if there is still affection, even if there are still doubts. Trust in the invisible is what sustains the chosen one on this journey, because often it is only after separation that you understand the weight you carried. It is after the break that relief comes. And it is only in absence that the soul begins to truly breathe. Inner transformation begins where the illusion of permanence ends. This stage is like crossing a bridge where you can't look back. Everything you tried to hold on to slowly crumbles. People move away, situations end, and you can only move forward with faith, with silence, with presence. This is the ritual, divine calling. It doesn't come screaming, it comes taking. And it's in what you lose that the universe reveals what's truly yours. But of course, even understanding the process, it's still difficult because we're human. And the pain of separation touches deep layers. Still, if you look closely, you'll realize there's wisdom in the breakups. There's direction in the voids. And there's liberation in everything that truly dissolves. But even after the breakup, the journey doesn't stop, because now you'll have to deal with something even more challenging, the weight of holding on to what no longer resonates with you. There are bonds that, when maintained beyond time, begin to sicken the soul. You feel it, but you don't want to accept it. Something is out of whack, but the memory of the good times still holds. But the truth is that you're carrying a weight that you no longer have the energy to sustain. This insistence on preserving what has already expired is one of the greatest obstacles that chosen face on their journey, and the cost is high in peace, vitality, and direction. It's not easy to let go of what was once home, but when a connection doesn't keep up with yours, inner transformation, it begins to take its toll. The body feels it. The heart weighs heavily. Clarity fades. And little by little, your spiritual mission begins to fade in an attempt to maintain bonds that vibrate at a different frequency. This is one of the greatest saboteurs of the awakened soul, the fear of disappointment. But remaining where you no longer fit in is also a form of abandonment of yourself. The soul speaks. It warns with discomfort, with delays, with feelings of stagnation. Relationships that once propelled you now hold you back. Environments that once welcomed you now empty you. And the more you force belonging, the more energy runs out. This isn't just emotional, it's energetic. And the chosen ones, because of their sensitivity, feel this in a heightened way. What is tolerable for others becomes unbearable for you. Carl Jung said that the soul has a natural tendency toward wholeness, and to achieve this, it breaks with what fragments. Therefore, maintaining misaligned connections becomes a burden. You realize you can no longer be who you were in these relationships, because they require you to shrink to fit in, to silence yourself to maintain peace, to fade away a little so as not to overshadow those who still live in the shadows. But that's no longer your function. Your soul no longer wants to shrink to accommodate. An energy disconnection, it's not always visible. Sometimes everything seems the same, but deep down, you already know there's no going back. And continuing to insist on this connection is like trying to row against the current of your own destiny. The universe begins to block paths, delay projects, drain your strength, until you understand it's time to let go. Because as long as you hold on to what no longer resonates with you, what truly awaits you cannot manifest. And when that break finally happens, something changes. Not just around you, but within you. A new space opens up, and with it, a new perception. Because now, free of the old weight, you begin to see more clearly who you really are and what has always been waiting for you on the other side of this inevitable separation. The moment you let go of what was holding you back, something inside ignites. It's not immediate relief, but it's as if a veil begins to fall from your eyes. Clarity comes slowly, but it comes. You begin to remember what was always there, hidden beneath the fear of disappointment, beneath the desire to please, beneath the illusion of belonging. What seemed like loss reveals itself as liberation. It's at that moment that the chosen heir reborn. This rebirth has no set date or audience. It happens silently within, and that's why few notice it from the outside, but you feel it. Your body feels lighter, your intuition is clearer. Your connection with the whole is more alive. The pain of energy rupture, it still pulses, but now it opens up space, because what hurt to let go heals when you breathe. The air that enters isn't the same, because now you're breathing like someone who's finally come back to themselves. When old ties break, you begin to hear the silence of the soul with more clarity. The rush diminishes, comparison disappears. The need to be understood loses strength, because what once bound you to the external now reveals the internal. Your spiritual identity begins to emerge more firmly, and you no longer need validation. You need truth. You need coherence with what you feel. You need fidelity to who you are. It is in this state that the soul mission begins to take shape more clearly. Not as a grand achievement, but as a continuing presence. You begin to realize that everything that fell apart was what was keeping you from hearing, from seeing, from remembering. Because the chosen are not defined by what they build, but by what they are willing to let go of in the name of something greater. And in this rebirth, what emerges is exactly what you always were, but didn't know it yet. This revelation doesn't come with euphoria. It comes with a kind of peace that doesn't depend on anyone, a kind of certainty that doesn't need to be explained. You look back and understand that every cut, every separation, every loneliness was part of the plan. And that, even in the darkest days, there was an invisible thread leading you to your essence. It wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of your life. Spiritual journey as an awakened soul. Now, with your heart less tied down and your energy clearer, you can see the breakups didn't break you, they revealed you. And if the road still feels lonely, remember, many are walking silently beside you. Because the chosen ones don't get lost, they simply retreat to remember who they truly are. We've reached the end of this reflection, but perhaps it's now that the most important questions begin to arise within you. What ties still bind you? What do you feel is no longer part of your story, but still insist on holding on to? And more than that, what is this phase of your life trying to teach you about who you truly are? If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Write in the comments what you felt, what this reflection awakened inside you. Your experience matters. Sometimes, just by sharing it, a healing process begins in you and in those who read it. If you want to continue receiving content that welcomes the soul and helps you understand this unique calling of chosen, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. This way, you continue to receive messages that strengthen your journey, and that can reach those who need it most. Indeed, if someone came to your mind right now, share this video with that person. It might be just the word she needs to hear today. And remember, here you are never alone. There is a community walking alongside you, and together we are stronger.